Okay, do you agree with that assessment, Captain Meenu Wadia, that this is only the IF doctors, etc., who are associated and already certified by DGCA? Or do they actually have to go to these IF centers? Because the reports that we are getting, and as per the notice, in fact, that was put out yesterday, that is on the 2nd of July, it's very clearly mentioned that they have to go to the IF centers.
That's absolutely correct. And it's been there for the last so many years. All pilots used to go to either Delhi CME or to Bangalore IIM. First of all, because IIF doctors are trained in aviation medicine, they are trained to assess fatigue levels of pilots, and civil pilots have always been going to the Air Force centers. However, what is more important is what Captain Meenu Singh said earlier. You make any new regulation. For example, suppose you say every pilot has to be checked out by an examiner every week or every month. You must have the infrastructure to do it. First, have the infrastructure in place and then come out with a regulation. What is the point of having regulation when you don't have the infrastructure in place? If you have increased doctors' facilities, increased centers, and there's no further delay in happening, first have that in place and then certainly make your new regulations, whatever is applicable. So right. There's nothing new to start with.
Let me bring in Air Marshal Rajiv Sachdeva. Sir, as somebody who has also got a civil license and has served in both these areas, is the current infrastructure enough to handle this load of thousands of pilots that will come in? What do you foresee happening as an impact of this? Is this something that is likely to affect flying schedules? Because the flying public would want to know if these moves are ultimately going to affect them.
Good evening, everybody. First of all, earlier, maybe about 30 years ago or 20 years ago, all the medicals were done in civil, in the Indian Air Force. Like the captain just mentioned, Meenu sir just mentioned, that the medicals were done in either CME, this is Delhi, or Institute of Aviation Medicine, that is IIM Bangalore. If the name suggests Institute of Aviation Medicine, because we had aviation medicine specialist doctors only in Indian Air Force, not in civil, not in DGCA, not in Army or Navy. They were only in the Indian Air Force. Now that is how all the medicals of the aviation in this country was being done there. The third center which was added was Jorat, because it was taking care of the eastern side. And that hospital had the capacity. As the civil grew, the pilots grew more and more, gone into thousands and thousands, the capacity reduced. So that is how the DGCA came up with this rule that you can do your 1 or 2 medical outside, get your test done, come back to Indian Air Force to get it checked, and the doctor sitting posted to the DGCA will go through all the documents and say, yes, you're fit. So I didn't find anything wrong in this if it was being done ethically. We really don't know. I'm not spelling out what ethical or unethical is, but why this rule has come back to Indian Air Force? Are you suspecting the civil pilots that they're not doing the test properly outside? Or are you suspecting the test outside? I really don't know. But Captain Meenu really hit the nail on the head. Unless we have the infrastructure with the Air Force suddenly to look after thousands of pilots, what is going to happen? Yes, the rule of the Indian government has come that the test will be done by the Indian Air Force pilots. What is going to happen? The pilots are going to wait for the medical test to get over instead of 1 day. Now it might take 2 to 3 days. That's going to impact the entire operational ecosystem of this country. Okay. So unless you have that infrastructure, which I don't know whether the Air Force and the DGCA have decided together how they do it, but an order suddenly coming up, I'm speaking to my batchmates who are flying today in civil. They are saying the medical is going to take much longer than what it used to take today. So what about the flying schedule for tomorrow?
Right. Dr.